So, now we are live. Hi, my name is Marv. Thanks for having you here. Let's start with the first and most important question of the day. Theo, who are you? What are you doing? And why should somebody talk to you when it comes to the point of yoga?
Yeah, thanks, Marv. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be on your podcast. I'm going to introduce myself shortly. My name is Theo. I'm 29 years old, and I call myself a movement and mindfulness teacher. I'm traveling the world most of the time in Asia in winter and in summer in Europe, and I try to teach what I learned within the last 15 years. And why you should contact me or be in contact with me, I think it's really cool if you look over if you think out of the box and do more than what you see in general. And for me, as a movement and mindfulness teacher, we're going to talk about this later on, I guess. I won't call myself a yoga teacher in that case. Um, it's cool to, just see different approaches and different perspectives on things that we might not see on the first gaze. And I think that, life has many options to discover cool things. And this is my purpose, where I want to help people to discover new things.
Super cool. I think you're right on this podcast if it's like thinking out of the box, especially when it comes to the moment of yoga and like the actually types of yoga we're practicing. So I think I just want to dive right deeper into this point, what you just said, because you first come to my mind on like Instagram. And the first thing I learned from you, especially, was like the right drill to get to my handstand and find out the best kind of balance. This is like the 1st thing I associated with you, and so I on the first hand, I don't had you like especially as yoga teacher in mind, and you already said you are like something in between mobility coach and something, and you don't call yourself too often yoga teacher. Just tell me about that.
Yes. So maybe I can talk a little bit about my journey and my own story, how I came to the point where I am now. So I call myself movement and mindfulness teacher because I did lots of practices in the past. I started like 15 years ago with parkour. So I always had like a physical background. And from parkour, I figured out I would like to do tricking, which is like a mixture of gymnastics and martial arts kicks. And then I discovered breakdance and capoeira and climbing and cliff diving and handstands and partner artistic and many, many things. And so I actually just dived into the world of movement and I created my own type of movement or flow move, whatever you want to call it. So I just picked the cherries from each of these fields that were interesting to me, and just created my own type of it. And the interesting part is when yoga entered, it was the first time where I actually had this mindfulness approach. Because before it was just about doing some fancy cool moves, being able to use your body in whichever way you want. And suddenly I realized there's more than the body. There's also the spiritual world, there's the mental world, and I should focus on that as well. So yoga was actually a really nice part of my journey where I understood not to only look on the physical aspect, but more as well.
Yeah.
And why I don't call myself a yoga teacher in that case is because if you define something as yoga, you will get in a lot of conflict. So let me give you an example. If I call myself a yoga teacher, and as you just entered my Instagram and you see, I teach lots of handstands, or I teach cartwheels and backflips and all these crazy calisthenics things. People will be like, "Oh, that's not yoga." So they will judge, or they have like this idea of yoga. And if I don't fit into that box, I'm not a yoga teacher to them. On the other side, if I'm too much yogi and I'm super spiritual and talk about chakras and all these crazy things, some people who are into movement, let's say they want to learn a handstand, they are not open yet for the spiritual aspects and energy and stuff. And I talk about this, it can be quite overwhelming to them. They just don't want to practice with me. So we lose some type of people who actually are not ready yet to dive too deep into yoga, but they need to have someone who's guiding them and opening up the door. And I would see myself somewhere in between. So I am a yoga teacher in some moments, yes. In some moments, I'm a movement teacher. Sometimes I do calisthenics, and I just want to bridge the gap between those parts, help people enter yoga who are not that spiritual, but at the same time show the yoga world that there is more than just asanas and vinyasa flows and the old traditional forms of yoga, but there are also different things, for example, hand balancing or like breakdance, which can be super meditative as well, and which can help you to
Mm-hmm.
discover your body in a way that an asana flow could never do. So I just want to open up the word and not stick to something that is defined and create like a bigger version of the overall idea of movement and mindfulness.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I think we can dive into so many points here, but I think I totally align with your standing like against this typical yoga teacher approach that a lot of people nowadays just think yoga is always has to be something like this, and a lot of people say, okay, if it's not exactly this or like the old teachings or including this and this, it's not kind of yoga. But like you said,
Mm-hmm.
I think most of the people miss out the point that it's more about the awareness part. And as
Mm-hmm.
well, if you start with your moving practice, if it's like capoeira, if it's like breakdance, or if it's yoga in general, you can find this peace in the moment. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's really interesting that you like combine all of these like things and bring people on this way to your yoga journey. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think,
Uh,
um, yeah,
No, I just wanted to add, like from my own journey, this was like, as I said, yoga was the the door opener where I understood the physical and the the spiritual and mental world. And when I started my own teacher training, I just showed up and I wanted to learn splits and handstands, and I had no idea about meditation, about breath work, about mindfulness. And so it was really important that my yoga teacher inspired me with physical practices but was like gentle with me and understood that I'm quite like far away from spirituality. And he just gave me little pieces bit by bit. So I wasn't
yeah.
afraid to dive into yoga. So I think it's really important that we have teachers who open the doors for people like us or like me who are super physical and are quite not afraid, but like not so easy to enter with yoga.
Yeah, maybe as well more the kind of mainstream people nowadays which want to just like find a nice balance in between, have the typical problems like of stressed out from work or studying and
Yeah.
need some practice for their body, and this is a way to find yoga. So how do you started your journey in like yoga or in your moving practice? You said you started way earlier, but where did
Yeah.
you do your yoga teacher training and what did you learn?
Yeah, super interesting question. So I think I already did yoga maybe in like 2018 or something. I had a yoga mat in my room and I did some stretching exercises because it was helpful for my physical practices of breakdance and all these gymnastic stuff. But it wasn't really mindful. I was just stretching my muscles and my ligaments, and I just wanted it to be more flexible, but there was no like mindful approach to it. And then in 2020, 3 years ago, I actually wanted to go to Bali, but then COVID hit, and the lockdown came,
Yeah.
and I was told to stay in Germany. So I had lots of vacation days, um, and I wasn't allowed to leave Germany. So I looked for some idea or for some options that I can do in Germany, and I figured out that I can go to the biggest ashram in Europe, which is in Hornbach-Meinberg. It's a German city, and there is Yoga Vidya. Do you know Yoga Vidya?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Yes, sure. Perfect. So this is where I did my first yoga teacher training. It was in late
Ah, okay.
2020. And I had the pleasure to learn with Igor, who is like a really cool teacher. As I said, who opened some doors for me and helped me to understand all this stuff. And right after that, I actually started teaching. I taught before, like as I said, movement practices like breakdance and stuff, but it was not like the real teaching approach of a real teacher. Maybe we can talk about that later
Mm.
on, like what is a
Yeah.
good teacher and what not. But yeah, before I was teaching some practices courses like breakdance and stuff. And then after my yoga teacher training, I decided, all right, I want to go in this direction. So I started teaching more handstands and more yoga classes, real yoga classes. And I created courses by myself. I taught at a gym and slowly built it all up. Same with my brand, Mindsetoftheo. It all grew. And then last year, I did another yoga teacher training in Asia, in Thailand. So I had my 500 hours, and I did another meditation teacher training online with Unser Yoga, which is based in India and the Netherlands. And this is more or less how my yoga education went on. But as I said, since 2018, I actually practice physical asana. And since 2020, I integrated more of the meditation and breath work and studied the old scripts and understood about the culture. And yeah, like, so it's actually 2020 was the real start where I understood that I wanted to do yoga.
Okay, that's already 3 years now. I always count the time. It's like running away. But yeah, that's super cool. I haven't known that there is like the biggest ashram in Europe in Germany. So this is super interesting. I think also for a lot of other people from Europe, maybe. Um, so also I just remember that we didn't hit on the point that your Instagram handle as well is like the mindset of Theo, right? So
Yes.
this totally makes sense now to me when you look on your journey. Um, what would you say? What was the most profound thing your yoga teacher Igor told you, or what brought you most closest to the new like kind of yoga style?
Yeah. Okay. So Igor managed to be a role model to me because in this moment, so you maybe I take a step back. So you need to understand when I created Mindset of Theo, this was back in 2019, and I did like a 180-degree turn in my life. Before I was partying and I like had short hair my entire life. I played football for a long time. In 2019, I did like a ridiculous big shift in my life, and this is when I started Mindset of Theo. And the name Mindset actually is so. If you look at my Instagram channel, I'm more like of
Yeah,
movement of Theo or Theo moves or something. This is what people call me on the first side, I would say. But for me, it was always about creating a mindset that will help me to live a happy and healthy life. Um, so I'm not the perfect mindset teacher. This is what people think when they read my brand name. Oh, he will teach me
yeah,
mindset. No, it's more about my own journey about mindset, how I learned, how I grew within 4 years. And this is why it's Mindset of Theo. So when I came to Igor in 2020, my mindset was still super shitty and had lots of struggles. And Igor managed
yeah,
to be a role model to me because before I was always judging people. If there's someone in front of me and told me like, yeah, you should mind your diet, maybe you want to become vegetarian because yeah, there's like lots of harm happening to the animals and you should change it. I would be like, why should I listen to you? Are you better than me in any physical aspect or
hmm,
whatever? I was really like judging a lot and I wasn't open for new perspectives. And so Igor managed to be good at physical practices and also be really good with his choice of words. I was looking up to him. And once I look up to a person, I'm more, more open to listen to what they have to tell me. And so Igor managed to show a side of yoga to me where I wasn't, let me look for the right word. All this spiritual stuff before when people talked about feeling energies and chakras and open your channels, kundalini, this was
yeah,
hocus pocus to me. I was like super like, oh, these are weird people and they're out of their mind. I don't want to listen to them. And Igor managed to close this gap, like being a good physical um, practitioner and also being able to show the spiritual world to me in a way where it makes sense, like having some scientific proof or giving me real life examples, talking out of his own experience. So
yeah.
it was easier for me to handle it, and it wasn't just some weird spiritual shit that I read somewhere on the internet that looks like complete nonsense.
Hmm. Yeah, I can totally relate to this. Would you say to bridge the gap is like also one of the tasks you try to achieve nowadays in your journey? So to bridge the gap for normal people to find the way from like normal kind of moving stuff, or like moving their body in different kinds, to like finding a kind of spiritual way or a kind of mindset for themselves?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, uh, like bridging this gap is super difficult, I would say, and it's like a task that it has like it's a long term goal, like over the years. So what I do nowadays is, if you look at my Instagram, as you said, the first thing you saw is I'm teaching you how to handstand, or I teach you how to backflip, I teach you how to spin on your head. So people get interested in these physical things because they are great show-off moves. It's cool to do that. It's cool to see that. So I catch their attention. And once I get them into like a deeper connection, like
Attention.
they enter the community or we have a long-term teaching, exactly, then um, it shifts from, oh, this is a cool show-off move. I can do a backflip. It shifts more to, oh, how can I keep my body healthy? How do I how do I manage to have healthy hips? How do I manage to have spine mobility? So it goes away from these show-off things more to mindful and health practices. And then later on, most of the time, people, once they understand it's not about aesthetics and it's not about being better than someone else or being better than your own version or whatever, this is actually the moment where you can integrate some mindfulness aspects. Like, let's talk about meditation, let's talk about breath work, let's talk about spirituality. So it's a really, really long journey, and it's I think um, it's for a teacher important not to be too quick about this, because where I come from, they're all athletes. Like most of these people all just want to
Hmm.
perform physically, and it's really hard for them to enter the spiritual world. I don't have lots of students which are super spiritual and then they want to start doing something else. So most of the time I have athletes around me, and
True.
so it takes time to yeah, give them the option and the perspective to shift from physical activities more to mental and spiritual ones. But I totally agree on what you said. Like this would be the overall goal, to bring spirituality, mindfulness, and yeah, love, and all these words closer to these people. Definitely.
Okay, super cool. Um, so you already told me we can talk about what's kinds, or what are like traits you want to see in a yoga teacher, or what do you think is a good kind of teacher. So what you already told is that the way you bring people from their first kind of needs to the way they can take more benefits from all your work, like totally, if it's like the whole body part, if it's a health part, if it's a mental part. So what would you say are other traits that are really important to be a good teacher?
Yeah. So as we just talked about Igor, who was my first teacher, he has some good traits that I mentioned. But also, I think a teacher should be able to understand your struggles, or to see your struggles, and give you what you need, and he doesn't give you what you want. So, for example, um, if I would go to a teacher, I struggle a lot with bent arm power. So if we talk about handstand
Hmm.
push-ups or low arm balances, ikipai, all these things, I'm super weak with low arm or bent arm power, but I'm super strong with straight arm power. So if I would like talk to a teacher, this teacher should understand my struggles and should give me what I need. So he shouldn't push me more into doing straight arm things. He should help me to dive into my struggles and give me the right advice. So I will work on my weakness. This would be
Hmm.
one trait that is good for a teacher. And also, I think a teacher should be able to listen, which is super important, because the student is not there to be just taught all the things that the teacher knows. The student will also ask him questions and has his own ideas of approaches to learn. And it's really important for a teacher to be able to, yeah, be empathetic and understand the way of the student, and should also understand that the student should overtake the teacher at one point. I had a few teachers in my own career, and at one point when they realized like, oh, the student is taking up or even overtaking, they were kind of
Yeah.
like frustrated about it, and it became
Okay.
a competition or something. So I think it's
Yeah.
really important that you understand, as a teacher, it is your task to help your student to become better than yourself. Like
Mm-hmm.
the student should outgrow the teacher at one point because he learns everything from the teacher and he adds his unique individual skills. So yeah, it should be all about growth.
I think this is like a really, really important point. Most of the teachers I know as well, or from my background, didn't do, and I think this is like a really, really gold nugget. Um, to help your students to get better than you, and this should be always the approach, like in every kind of space, if it's like physical or mentally.
Mm-hmm.
I like that really. Um, so for me, it's really important to always try to unbox modern kind of yoga. I think everything you explained to me to this point is always like you have like accomplished to um how to say, how to feel like your actually yoga journey was like
Mm-hmm.
really traditional stuff as well as like really like modern stuff in the movement parts. So what do you think are already like misconceptions or like still kind of cliches or boxes which exist in yoga? You already told me, okay, yoga teachers always, so if you claim yourself as a yoga teacher, the people expect this or this from you. But do
Yep.
you have typical cliches or things you think people won't see as a yoga teacher?
So I would say modern cliches about yoga is that it's for women. If I look at my
Yeah.
classes, I would say 90% of the participants are female. And I'm not sure if this is because men think like it's not cool enough, or you don't want to stretch, you just want to pump your muscles. Or maybe it's because most of the male participants are super stiff, so it's really hard for them to practice yoga actually, and so they don't show
Hmm.
up at classes at all. So I would say one of the cliches is that yoga is for women, or is a
Yeah.
woman practice. But if you look at the ancient days, like in the old scripts, actually yoga was forbidden for women. So it was just a practice for male in the beginning, and it wasn't about asanas. It was just about like spiritual growth. So it's super interesting that it changed now. Now it's so much about the physical aspect. It's so much about asanas, and mostly women do it. So this is one
Yeah.
big cliche for sure. Um, and yeah, also I think like another cliche is, as we talked before, like to define something. Like this is yoga. My yoga is better than yours. No, vinyasa is the real thing. No, it's hatha. No, you need to do more yin. No, it's restorative. It's this, it's that. Like if we think about the word yoga, which means union, it doesn't matter what you do. If you feel united with your bigger self, with the universe, with your higher being, like if you find a practice that is enjoyable, this can be sitting meditation, it can be surfing, it can be, I don't know, like base jumping, whatever. If you manage to feel united with the energy around you and you are present in this moment, I would call it yoga. So another cliche to
Yeah.
sum it up would be to define it in too strict way, or to define a style. This is this, this is that. Actually, everything is yoga. Like if we talk about union, like everything that helps you to feel united and to connect, like that's yoga. So yeah, I would say those are the two that come to my mind at this moment.
I think that's two really good ones because I see the same always if you're teaching classes, and I think it's two of the really hard ones to break through at all. But I think a really interesting point connecting to this is also like the part of social media nowadays, like
Mhm.
Instagram or TikTok,
Yeah.
connecting to this kind of cliches and as well as way to like break them out. What is your take on this?
Like Instagram and yoga nowadays, for example, social media and yoga.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So
hard to
it
say.
has, of course, it has two sides of the coin. On the one hand, you can
Exactly.
inspire a lot of people. I mean, you are one of a good example, like you explained your way to show the people from the interesting poses back to the healthy poses, back to the mindset stuff. But on the other hand, it's always like, yeah, a kind of competition, which yoga
Mhm.
shouldn't be, right?
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I think as you say, it's always two sides of the coin. It's always two sides of a coin. So I'm super thankful for Instagram because it gave me lots of inspiration, and I was able to connect with so many like great teachers and people that I would never meet in real life if I wouldn't have the connection online. So that's definitely a plus point. Um, and also, as you said, you can reach many, many people and show your own perspective and try to help them because you figured out a way that helped you. What I don't like about Instagram is, as you said, this competition and what works well. So if I look at my
mm,
own statistics, if I post um, a video, let's say how to balance your partner on your shoulders in a planche position. This video will get like millions of views and thousands of saves and shares and comments because it's fancy and people look at this and want to do it. But this is not the message. This is just catching attention. And later on, when you have a post where you actually teach something like, listen up, this will help your forward fold struggles, or this is something that
mm,
will help you get your mind to peace or whatever. You don't reach enough or you don't reach this amount of people because it's not fancy enough. So I think it's a struggle to, you will always be forced to post what's fancy. You need to figure out a way to keep this in balance. Also post really educational stuff where people learn something. Of course, you won't reach
yeah,
the high numbers in this case, but it's super important to keep the balance and show people like, yes, this is fancy stuff, this is cool, but actually the real knowledge, the real education happens in the other posts. And yeah, so we have crazy cool people online on Instagram. I think you had Alex on your podcast before, right? Alex Hammer.
yeah, right.
Yeah, like he's one of these crazy good flexible examples where he just places both feet behind his neck and I don't know what else
Yeah,
he's doing. And it's super great to see this. But like, yeah, it's really hard to get away from this competitive idea of showing off how crazy cool posters you can achieve and how to help people to understand the real practice happens in a different layer. So yeah, as you said, it's always like positive and negative aspects of the coin, and we need to figure out a way to deal with it. We need to figure out a way by ourselves. How do I want to use Instagram on the consuming side, and also how do I want to use Instagram as a business side? To educate people. You really need to be careful and mindful about this because, yeah, it's super dangerous as well.
yeah, but that's true. Yeah, we had a nice chat with Alex about like in really a similar kind of topic where it's about like his more like super advanced flexible poses, and it's
Mm-hmm,
also one of these big questions: should you show these poses off? Because there
mm-hmm,
was a big like controversy on Instagram about like, is this yoga as
mm-hmm,
hashtag? And yeah, in the end, I think it always comes back to this point. It's always about yourself and always about what is your attention behind it, and
mm-hmm.
how do you do it to bring your message to the people, and what is your message, right? So yeah, I think on the one hand, it's like a good way as well to start yoga or bring people like the inspiration to start yoga. um, do you think you would use like searching on Instagram or Reels or stuff like this nowadays if you had to start again your yoga journey or like your movement journey?
If I would search the internet for inspiration, if I would have to start again, is that
Yeah,
what you meant? Um,
yeah.
so if I would have to start again and I would have the knowledge that I have right now, um, I would do lots of things different, but I think, of course, I would use social media because it's part of our day-to-day life. I have an account, I scroll, I look for inspiration, and I think it's also good if you see what's possible because it keeps your motivation up to keep going. There are days where we don't feel like doing it and we don't want to show up on the mat, and it's really hard
Hmm.
to like yeah keep the momentum up. And So therefore, I would say I would look at all these things, but I would be careful about it, not just to search for the craziest posters and try to mimic them and
Yeah.
copy them, and my body is not ready for it yet, and I might injure or hurt myself. I would be super mindful about who I follow and which content I consume. But I would definitely, again, look at Instagram and social media overall to find some inspiration and teachers and courses. And yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I think the same. Um, so one more thing I found out about you when I was like researching was like you just launched your own app, which is like a completely new kind of teaching style. How would you explain this, or how would you explain your app to somebody who never heard about that?
Yeah, cool. So the overall goal with my app is to make hard things accessible for everyone. Um, in my app, you find different approaches on different things. So, for example, you find follow along yoga classes, as you can do it in live with me, where I have different topics about like hip openers or long arm flows or whatever you want to do. But also, you will find specific quick workouts. Let's say we go a little bit away from the yoga aspect and we talk about the overall movement aspect. Many people have struggled with explosive moves and especially with jumping. So if we look at my Instagram, many people want to learn how to backflip, how to front flip, how to side flip, how to flip, 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 but they're
Mhm.
not even able to jump. So what I did is I created a quick workout that will create or help you create the foundations about jumping. So you start from scratch and I pick you up wherever you are and you will be able to progress through these workouts to more advanced skills. Um, what else do we have? So there are always different options to pick a different level of the exercise. I created a workout which I call Yogiletics. So we have yoga postures and yoga flows combined with more advanced relatics exercises such as burpees or calisthenics moves.
Mhm.
And we I created like different flows where you have to go through the different motions, and you can always pick a level. So there are beginner exercises, more intermediate, and more advanced exercises, and you'll be able to pick different options. The focus of the app is actually to teach you cool moves. So it's really about understanding your body and figuring out
Yeah.
how to gain control and freedom of movement. At the moment, there are 4 programs online, and with each month, we'll launch and publish a new one. So at the moment, you can learn the aerial, which is like a cartwheel with no hands. You can learn the back handspring, which is like a back foot with hands. You can learn the kick up. You know this move from action movies where you lay on your back and you kick up your legs and you stand up.
Yeah.
And the point spin will be released in the next few days, which is a breakdance power move handstand. So it's really hard to explain this move right now, but it's beginner friendly and it will help you to
Yeah.
generate force for more power moves where you spin on your back and your head, on your hands, etc. And these move skills are broken down into super simple steps. I pick you up from zero. I explain to you the instructions, how you do it. I talk about common mistakes, how to warm up, um, progressions you're going to do, if there are any prerequisites that you need to have. And then I create a training schedule for you, which can be 2 weeks or 4 weeks. And I will guide you day by day with different exercises to the final move. This doesn't mean that you will be able to do a back handspring after 4 weeks, but you will have a schedule with which you can work on it. And if you don't manage to do it after 4 weeks, you start over again and maybe you do it in 6 weeks or 10 weeks or whatever, how long it takes you. But my overall goal is to be the number one platform in the internet where people come to if we talk about acrobatic skills or gaining control of your body. The overall movement, as I said, from
Mhm.
breakdance to tricking, yoga, hand balancing, whatever comes to your mind. If you want to learn a cool skill, this will be the place where you will find instructions from scratch until final move. So this is the overall thing, how the app works. It's a subscription model. You can actually test it 7 days for free if you want to. You will find all the links and stuff in my Instagram bio and my website. So if you're interested, you can check that out, of course. But yeah, the overall idea is to present platform to the community, to the world, where they will get good guidance to practice safely and with good instructions to learn cool skills that they saw as kids in the action movies and yeah, superheroes doing it, and you want to do it by yourself in your own garden. That's the overall idea.
That's super cool. Yeah, it sounds, especially for me, like super interesting. A lot of this movement stuff you can see on Theo's Instagram is like super amazing. And I think this concept of an app, like also kind of library and a kind of like one-on-one instruction, is like much better than a lot of like on or offline solutions you have nowadays, as well as in yoga teaching as well. Actually, I think we have a big kind of change. A lot of people put YouTube videos on, or you have Patreon, or you have something in between, like Zoom sessions for yoga.
Yeah.
And I really like your idea to like build something for yourself, and something you're expert on, and like your own kind of style of like movement. And yeah, man, this sounds really awesome. So I will check it out definitely, and I think we will put it in the show notes for sure.
Thank
Um,
you.
so uh, let's get to one or two last questions. I don't want to associate you too much, but what do you think actually? So you just described as well, like a lot of stuff you're actually doing, and like I said, the people listening can have a look on this on your Instagram as well. How would you describe your modern approach of yoga in contrast to the more, let's say, traditional aspects of yoga and movement? So, for example, a lot of the old movements in yoga as well are not really beneficial to the body. Yeah,
Mhm.
so there are some asanas which are like not really scientific proven. On the other hand, your kind of movement always looks super smooth, super like, I would say more healthy.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um. So what is your take on this?
Yeah. So first of all, I agree that in the modern days, the yoga flows, the vinyasa, it all looks a little bit like a dance. It's super smooth and it appears healthy. I'm not sure if it's more beneficial than like old traditional asana postures, because like back in these days there were super crazy good flexible yogi performers. So it always has its pros and cons. But what I think about the old days is that it was super. It was written down how it's supposed to be. So in a forward
Mm.
fold, you have to close your ankles close together, and you have to bend over the hips, and you have to hold it here and there. And nowadays, it's more free, it's more open, and you can create more variations. And let's think about Ashtanga, right? You
Yeah.
have these different postures that you have to um, repeat in a specific order, and it's only allowed to do it this way. And there are only a few people allowed to teach this style. So it was super like yeah, strict, and it was closed for creativity, for new options, for better ideas. And I think the modern way of yoga and approach is way more creative. It has way more options. There are many opportunities to create your own style, your own flow. I mean, there are so many
More
different styles
individual.
now. Yeah, individual.
Yeah.
Like for example, have you heard about Budokon yoga?
Ah, yeah. I just interviewed Henry Newman. I
Yeah,
don't know if you know him. He's like doing the Budokan stuff in Germany as well, and like just opening his moving room app. Yeah.
so cool. Like you can combine nowadays yoga with martial arts, or you can integrate animal flows, and it's it's really nice that we opened up these doors and we came away from these old traditional written down perfectly structured idea of one position or posture, and we create more room and space to discover new things. So this is what I really like about the new modern approach, and what I would kind of criticize with the old days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think this totally makes sense. So let's get for the last question from the past into the future. Theo, what do you think yoga will evolve to? in the next 5 to 10 years, and which kind of role do you think you will play in the next 5 to 10 years when it's like around moving, when it's around like yoga stuff?
Well, super good question. Um, nice idea to think about that. So, first of all, 5 to 10 years, a lot of things can happen. What I
Yes,
think, what we
for
just
sure.
said is like everything will evolve and grow into different styles, and there will pop up new variations of this is the new yoga thing. This is yoga with, I don't know, music, and this is this and this. So I think it will become more diversified. It will become bigger. We have more people doing it. It will definitely grow. I'm sure about that. Um,
Hmm.
and which role I would like to play, or what my project about this would be, um, to have the overall goal always in mind. Like you want to have a healthy body, you want to be happy, and you want to be mindful and aware of what you're doing. You want to share love. So with my app, or with my retreat, or with my workshops, with my classes, I would like to give people always the opportunity to practice their own style, their own way, but always keep in mind like the overall goal is what I just said, to be happy, healthy, and mindful. So
Hmm.
yeah, my overall goal for the next years would be to reach more people, to make people happy, to help people, to inspire people, and create a good community. So within the app, we have like a forum where everyone who is subscribed to the app can enter the forum group. We exchange and we get feedback on different moves that they upload and stuff. And I would like to grow that bigger. So to have like a real community of thousands of people who come together and share their experiences. And that would be a super cool goal to work on, definitely.
Wow. Yeah, super nice. I think this is also one of the most sustainability goals you can have, like building your own community around your stuff and about like what you said, like the freedom in moving and being happy. That's super cool. Yeah, too. I think we already finished. Um, I thank you really much to have you here on the podcast. It was like a pleasure. Um, Hope we can talk in future and get
Sure.
an update from you.
Yeah, man.
And yeah, thanks a lot.
Super
So
cool.
bye.
Thanks for having me. And one more time, thanks for doing this episode in English because I know that many of my followers do not speak German. So thanks a lot for
Yeah.
being open to change the language. And yeah, it was a pleasure to be on your podcast. Thanks a lot. And we're going to talk soon for sure.
All right. Bye bye. See
Bye
you.
bye.